All right. Hello, authors, book lovers, and storytellers. Welcome to another session here in Readers Magnet's featured author interview. My name is Leah, and I'm your host for today. And with me is one of the Readers Magnet's featured author, and of course, one of the most valuable author we have as well. Kids, today we are very happy and honored that we will be sharing with us what this book is all about, him being an author, and of course, what's the inspiration behind his book. So, everyone, let's all welcome our one and only Mr. Bob Griffin Sr., author of the book Firestorms of Revival. Hello, Bob. How are you doing today?
It's a good day.
That's good to hear, Bob. And it's good to also have you here in this platform, especially for choosing Reader's Magnet to be part of this journey. Now, I'm actually very excited to have this conversation. Why? Because I've been hearing a lot of good things from your consultant, of course, from your project manager as well. That having the author, which is very dedicated about his book, and I know that there's really so much to talk about. So we're very excited for this one, Bob. And here, before we start tackling about your book, we also wanted to know, yeah, can you tell us a bit information about you, if who Mr. Bob Griffin is?
Sure, I'll try to be brief. It's a long story, um, but I have three awesome kids. They're thriving. Eight grandkids. I guess that's close to my heart. I had a radical call to God from God at 12. I was suicidal, raised in an abusive alcoholic home. I had an amazing encounter where my sense was that God said, I'll be your dad and we'll do life together and it'll be good. So that's my story. It's been an incredible adventure. 20 countries, author, university pastor, lead pastor in churches. So, yeah, a wild adventure.
Wow, that is really a roller coaster, Bob. So, yep, that's pretty much it. Author's information, but don't worry, we will know more about him as an author. And yes, this is the moment that we've been waiting for, Bob, because we are now going to tackle more information about your book. Now, I wanted to, oh yeah, here before we do that, do you have your book with you right now?
I do.
Will you show it to our viewers? Okay, there you go, everyone. That's the book of Mr. Bob Griffin. All right. Thank you so much, Bob. And here, I wanted to start with the title, Bob. Can you tell us what was the title mean? And how did you come up with the story? When did it all started?
Well, it's an exciting story. We were doing international service and ministry, and we moved to Rockford to fly out of Chicago O'Hare. Our city's Rockford. But after a couple of years, we decided international travel was pretty exhausting, and we joined the staff of a large church in the city. And so I became very acquainted with the church and the city. And tragically enough, the city was in shambles. We were under federal control for racism in our school district. Taxes were going up, housing values going down, and we had more homicides per capita than Chicago, believe it or not. And so I was about to change horses in the middle of my doctoral stream on the subject I chose to write at the end. And because of my heartbreaking, I chose to study historic moves of God, 12 in the Old Testament, 8 in the New, 5 of the major post-biblical revivals. And I found a pattern. And so a few years after graduation, I determined, you know what? I need to write a book. We need to light fire under God's people everywhere they are and see if once again, as God has been uh, faithful to do all through the centuries, starting in the Old Testament and since, a great firestorm of revival in our time. So that's it. You know, it just launched the book and got it published, and it's been well received.
hmm Right. So based on your own experience and what's happening with the surroundings, so that was the inspiration of you creating this book. And also, I believe that there's your book is also let's say advocating for a specific cause and agenda. Right. Now, can you tell us
That's
more
right.
about that, Bob? Mm-hmm.
Well, there's a biblical text that's historic. It's in the Old Testament of the Bible, And there's a little phrase there called "my people," and that goes Old Testament and New Testament. And it simply says, if my people who are called by my name will really humble themselves and pray and seek my face, turn from their crummy, sinful ways, I editorialize there,
Mhm.
and seek my face, I'll forgive their sin and I'll heal their land. That's a phenomenal promise. And God has always been faithful. When God's people follow the instructions, He shows up and things change radically, socially, economically, and spiritually.
Wow, I'd like that, Bab. And you know what? It's really an interesting thing mentioning that one, Bab, because I really also like how it is also intended to, let's say, to help individual, from changing their, let's say, their bad habits to create new healthy habits, and not just that. Because in the first place, it is also stated in your book on how to have that new life, the
Right.
reflections, journey, path, and let's say perspectives of caring and also giving importance for yourself as a child of our one and only God. I like that.
Yeah.
Russ.
Yeah. Let me interrupt you just to simply say that the book is academic because I prove my 10 characteristics of historic revival, but I tell our story, which is very exciting, and how God gave us elbow in the ribs to do this thing. But
Mm-hmm.
also, chapter 7 is my opus on prayer, what prayer is all about, and how to do it, and all of that. And then chapter 9 is very strategic because it's the power and nature of God's word, and then of course an inspirational closer. So it's academic, it's
Mm-hmm.
inspirational, it's personal, and it's just not a cognitive head trip.
Right. So there's really a purpose in every word that is stated in your book. I like that, Bob. Now, we wanted to know, Bob, while writing this book, are there any surprising moments that you have encountered, or are there any difficult part in it? So, yeah, what's the journey of writing this book?
Well, it was a very long, long journey. The bibliography has a huge bibliography on revival by other authors. And to collect all of that and to read it and to research it was probably the greatest challenge. And then to put the book together in a form that's both readable, understandable,
Mm-hmm.
cookies on the bottom shelf from my doctoral paper, you know, uh, that was challenging. And of
Right.
course, if you're going to write a book, you have to get your fanny in the chair and use a lot of discipline. So I think that would, I think that would be the
Definitely.
second thing. Yeah.
Right, right. Yes. And also, Bob, I can see that, behind all the struggles, the challenges that you have encountered while writing this book, knowing that this book is really a successful creation. Because you know what? I also checked this book online, and you've been getting a lot of positive feedback coming from the viewers, the readers. That means that there's really reason why these things are happening, why this book needs to be acknowledged by among as many people as possible. Now, we also wanted to know, Bob, you writing this book, what was the impact of writing this book to you and to your loved ones?
I think it was primarily personal. Uh, I saw our city in shambles, and I wanted to know how can this be transformed. Interestingly enough, we did that for
Mhm.
15 years. I think I wrote the book about 5 years in, but several
Whoa.
$1 million were put up, and an organization by corporate and religious leaders created Transform Rockford. And our city has come from chaos to thriving. But the struggle to get through that and to get it out there, it's a great journey and it's very rewarding. And
Hmm.
I'm just thrilled with what God has done in our city. I mean, I have an internal party every time I think of it.
Right. Definitely. And you know what, Bob, listening to you, I can really tell that this book of yours it's actually very useful, not just for someone who's also struggling, wanted to change their habits, but to also know their worth, to know who is Jesus, what's their purpose, but this can also be used to all aspects in life. Such an amazing creation, Bob. Yes.
Yes,
Now,
and in
Bob.
fact, let me real quick. It's not just
Mm,
a spiritual reform, because when there's been a historic move of God, everything changes economically and socially as well.
absolutely, the way of thinking as well.
Hmm.
Right.
Hmm.
Mm. Especially when it comes to, making decisions. Yes, this is really helpful. Yes, and Bob, I also wanted you to take this opportunity to, let's say, give a message to those people whom you've wanted to discover your book, and of course to those people as well whom you've also helped for your book.
Well, the endorsements that I've had, I want to thank again. I I am overwhelmed with the scholarship of the kinds of quality people who said this has to be read by spiritual leaders and people everywhere. Um, a long list of endorsers, and that is deeply rewarding. For my friends and the churches in this city, I think it has been significant as well.
Mhm.
Um, so the whole impact has been rewarding.
Wow. And that is priceless, Bob. So yes, you know what, Bob, me personally, I also wanted to say thank you. Why? Cuz I love the devotion. I love the fact the devotion you have for our one and only. It really makes this book, let's say, an inspiring and beautiful creation. This is truly inspirational, Bob. And thank you so much for gracing with us today. So, yes, everyone, Mr. Bob Griffin Sr., author of the book Firestorms of Revival. And his book is available in Amazon.com, Barnes& and Noble, and you may also follow him on all the social media platform he has. And again, Bob, thank you so much. And also, as we say it here in Reader's Magnet, we share your story with the world. Thank you so much, Bob.
Thank you very much.
You